Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, Dave Patterson, Graham Noble, and John Clark. And this is the Conservative Five, an online TV production of Liberty Nation News. Pam Bondi made a lot of friends with her tough stances on stemming the tide of immigration and being the tough gal on crime. This past week, Bondi bombed. After weeks of saying she had Epstein files on her desk that were sickening and eye-opening, blah, 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 the kind of stuff that most folks don't know much about, she released a big nothing burger. And they posed for pictures, and it was cringeworthy. Where did the Attorney General go that had Congress swooning during confirmation hearings? I mean, let's roll tape on what I'm talking about here.
She understands, as a 20-year prosecutor, that prosecutors have to follow the evidence and the law. And because of her background as someone who is not a super partisan, she had never run for office before running for Attorney General. She doesn't come from the world of politics. She comes from the world of prosecutors and in the criminal justice system, that I do believe that she will act in a way that is always tethered to the law and will not cross that line to making purely political decisions.
And yet, she played right into that whole tease, the tease and the big reveal. And I mean, Graham, there are a lot of Americans disappointed that the big reveal wasn't big or a reveal. I mean, half of us have seen all this information before.
Yeah, that's quite correct, Sarah. Pretty much everything that was released has already been in the public domain, and that's because of previous legal actions that involved the FBI being forced to hand over certain documents as part of the ongoing investigation, part of the discovery process, if you will. And so all of that stuff was out there. I mean, the so-called flight logs and all this kind of information was all there. What the American public really wants to know is who the clients were, because right now you have Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in a federal prison, and I personally am not sure why she's there. She seems to have apparently been aiding and abetting the sex trafficking of young women to nobody at all. And I think, therefore, she should be walking free right now. To be honest with you, I mean,
until they got something that they can actually arrest her.
Until they got something, even if you're the most hyper partisan Trump supporter, you could not possibly really defend how Bondi handled this situation, because she did say, as you pointed out, Sarah, she said that she had actually seen this stuff with her own eyes, and that it was sickening and it was awful. So then what happens between then and the release of the documents? Because somehow the stuff that she was saying was sitting on her desk that she was reading, that then got passed on to somebody else who made it disappear. Now, there's a lot of rumors that, some of the documents were still being concealed by the FBI, I believe, the New York field office of the FBI. But if that was the case, how did Bondi get to renew them if they were being hidden away somewhere? So it's all very confusing. I don't know how that's going to shake out, but all I do know is that the only way they are going to make this mess kind of disappear in the rearview mirror is to actually get the rest of this stuff out there as soon as possible. And my personal view is, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, my personal view is that the reason why they are still somehow dragging their feet over this is because there are some very big names on this so-called client list. I believe, some prominent members of Congress, probably, among others. And I think that's why everybody is really nervous about it. I'm going to throw it in there, personal opinion. I'm going to throw in there that I think Trump would be quite happy for it all to get out there, no matter whose name's on the list. But I think there's a lot of pressure going on behind the scenes. And I think even Pam Bondi herself, even though she's the Attorney General, I think she herself is even probably being pressured by certain people to, look, you cannot make these names public.
I'm going to pivot to Dave. Bondi did. She pointed the finger at the FBI, but for goodness sake, she's the big boss, correct? I mean, March in there and drag these people and their freaking papers and let's get on with this. This is ridiculous.
Yes, she is the big boss, and those who test her, I believe, are to do so at their own peril. There's a truckload of documents that apparently were sitting at the New York field office. I'm sorry, they were actually sitting at the Attorney General of the Southern District
of
New York.
Yeah.
And but the FBI head of the New York field office was cognizant of that. He knew they were there, and I believe that this is an episode, and it's a moment for learning for the new Attorney General, that you can be exposed to what euphemistically referred to as malicious compliance. And this is clear as to what was happening at the in the FBI bureaucracy. You ask for specific things, and they give you specific things. What you had meant to say is that give me everything, and so far that's what has now happened. And there are truckloads, apparently, of all this information and depositions, and particularly testimony before the other kinds of jurisdictions. And, so now she's going to get all of this. And what's happening is that they're going through it, and there must have been something there, because James Dennehy, field office chief, was told to put in his retirement papers, and he did.
Before I get to John Clara, Andrew, I want you to pick up on something that Graham said. And is it perception driving this train of salacious information? Or is there some real meat in this sandwich? Or is this going to be a nothing burger?
Maybe it's our obsession with, John Le Carre novels and movies and espionage and all this stuff. I mean, what are we really expecting out of all these documents? Are these documents expected to detail certain, blackmail cases of members of Congress? I mean, are we expecting, let's say, one document that shows this member of Congress had a foot fetish and he was recorded on tape, and then he was blackmailed to advance some certain agreement or get information on a certain public official? I mean, is that what we're really expecting out of all these? Because from after all this years of just dragging by both administrations so far, anyway, for at least on the Trump side, it seems like we're not going to get anything substantive. All we're going to get are these publicity stunts that we had the other day with those conservative paid influencers who go on the White House lawn and hold up these binders. I mean, if this thing is as serious as they say, then why would you have this PR stunt? I mean, that was, I think, so far of this administration and how young it is, that was probably the biggest blunder so far.
It was stupid. It was cringeworthy.
Exactly. So, but for recent reporting and comments from Pam Bondi suggest that, yes, now there's going to be real documentation coming out, but it's probably just cleanup on aisle 9 is once again going to be another dud. So my prognostication is don't hold your breath anymore. That something really, important is going to be released in the future.
John Clark, I'm going to give you almost the last word because I always get the last word, but I'm going to slide you in right here. People want answers. They didn't get them. Are they ever going to get them?
Well, I'll hope so. And I think there's a lot of speculation going on, including by this panel, and I will join it because I will offer some other speculations. I've heard a lot of different things. Now, you may recall I was a criminal defense attorney for years, and Pam Bondi has emphasized strongly that she is not going to proceed in a way that would expose victims. The victims might not just be the sex workers. For instance, was Chris Murphy there? I don't know. Maybe that's why he's running around. Was Tom Hanks there? Was he an influencer, or was he doing something illegal? We have statute of limitations issues. As a lawyer, I can say I never talk to the press. So it's already maybe out of her wheelhouse to be doing this. And I wonder if the pressure isn't just for her to reveal everything, but for her to reveal something, because the left, mimicked or ridiculed the right for saying there was this, there were all these names. It was like a conspiracy theory. Well, I think the big news is that she has found out that she was lied to and that thousands of documents were withheld. She's not just fired the guy. She's insisted that Kash Patel do an investigation as to why they were withheld. And there are some who are suggesting that this itself was not so much a media stunt as an effort to flesh out more witnesses so that she could do something more than just have salacious news stories, but actually criminally convict people, again, if there are statutes of limitations and the evidence available. And I do hope that that's the case. I'm speculating, but I
Good grief, if they have statute of limitations, and they better get the show on the road.
Well, if they're minors, the statutes of limitations are pretty much wide open. But I am hopeful that she's actually being, as we saw in the clip, she's an experienced prosecutor. She hasn't historically been partisan minded, and that really does intrude and compromise the integrity of her position. Some of the commentators are saying that this is actually a ploy to get people panicked and get whistleblowers out who will act as state's evidence against some of the other people. And now it certainly seems to me that aside from whatever else has happened, we have to find out why the FBI deliberately, it appears, withheld large tranches of documents from the highest law enforcement official, arguably, in the country. So I don't think that it's over yet. And I will be disappointed if she doesn't come out with some meat to put on these bones as far as some actual convictions. But that's a very different thing. To get a criminal conviction, you could compromise the whole process by this sort of thing.
Publicizing everything.
Right. So, I don't know what her true mission is. And I think we're all waiting to see.
I think, too, that you have to realize, Sarah, that this case isn't just this immediate Epstein arrest and apparent suicide. This goes back 10 years to...
No, I get that. I get it.
Also,
this has been a teaser for a long time with this administration, and this administration needs to deliver to the American people.
Well, it also includes all of the grand jury testimony. And if you've ever seen the reams of grand jury testimony, I mean, it fills houses. And so you can kind of understand why they didn't want to dump all this on her. But then again, she asked for it and should have gotten it. And so and she didn't. And now they're looking for a new FBI chief at the New York field office. Anyone else?
Doge handle it all.
All right. Well, Carly Simon said it best. Anticipation is making me wait. Thanks, panel. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back and let you know if we got anything with, as John Clark would say, meat on the bones. Well, that's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of her TV productions. Now, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, or legislation, and this presentation is no endorsement. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for the latest news and commentary, your choice for free thinking, free speech, libertynation.com.